witch is not a dirty word. In fact, a witch is an icon for a woman stepping into her power, into her sovereignty. And what does that look like? History would love for us to stay quiet and hide away our power as women. You can see that through recent times, women being depicted in Hollywood as a powerful woman is a dangerous one. You can see that further in religion and further still into our mythological depictions of women. Often they are perceived as the lesser gods. What I have been drawn to share with you today is the coming of the first witch, her story. And I am speaking of the one and only Lilith. She was Adam's first wife. Now, the story that is painted in the biblical sense paints her as a demon. But there is a deeper story here, and it is hers that I wish to share with you today. Now, Lilith and Adam were made as equal, made from the same substance, and they shared their time in Eden. And it became increasingly frustrating for Adam to have Lilith no longer willing to be subservient to him. As the story goes, she would not lay underneath him. And he did not like this. These two were equal, both desiring to have their own pleasure gifted from one another as true partners ruling this beautiful place, this paradise. And when it became increasingly obvious to Lilith that there was a time they needed to grow apart from each other, she informed him that she would go and journey to find herself and return, hoping that Adam would do the same and explore his own needs and desires outside of a relationship. So Lilith journeyed. She met with shamans. She learnt to shapeshift and discover parts of herself that she was not aware of. And it was through this self-discovery that she felt ready to return. And upon her return, she found Adam with another woman. Adam had not done as she had. He had not gone and discovered himself, finding the internal things that would release him from his need for somebody to be there for him, to be his servant as such. Instead, he petitioned to God in the biblical sense and requested a woman to take Lilith's place. And of course, the story goes that he offered up a rib and Eve was born of him, for him. Now, seeing this and watching the subservient ways of Eve, Lilith so desperately wanted for her to be enlightened, awakened to the truth of her power as a woman. And using her most recent discoveries and abilities to shapeshift, she transformed herself into a serpent and made her way to the tree of knowledge and obviously had a conversation with Eve, allowing Eve to choose enlightenment for herself. And we can only surmise that it was Lilith's desire for both Adam and Eve to awaken to themselves as the true power that laid within them. Yet it was only Eve that took the opportunity, trusted the serpent, and Adam continued to recoil even after taking the bite and gaining knowledge. He was not satisfied. Now, this story is not shared in the Bible. Lilith is depicted as a demon and she was cast into hell. Luckily for witches, the Bible and its beliefs of heaven and hell don't really hold much truth for us. The belief of heaven and hell is the internal and external struggles of self. And it is this quest to know yourself as a witch that takes you on that journey to reclaim your sovereignty. My own personal journey to reclaim my sovereignty started with the innocence and purity of my youth. For as long as I can remember, the witch held a cast of epic proportion. Her mystic ways enchanted me. As a young 4-year-old, my great-grandmother would read my tea leaves, and I joke that this was my initiation into the occult world. She captivated me in how she could read from these leaves. In my teens, I would use my babysitting money to purchase any information on witchcraft and soak the pages up. I was free and unashamed to own that part of me. And it took the meeting of a partner, of a man that I thought was the one in my early 20s to let me reevaluate my stance and position on what it was to be a witch. He was much older than myself, yet we both shared a love of books. And this particular day, we made our way into the local bookstore. I naturally deferring over to the occult section with natural therapies and the New Age. It was in this section that I found a book with a poppet. And it was this poppet that drew me in. Now, intuitively, I knew that the poppet was not something to be scared of, to worry. I knew enough that poppets were used in sympathetic magics to represent loved ones that may need healing. And I wanted to know more about this actual book, but it was in a box. So I looked at the back of the box and, satisfied with what I had read, put it back on the shelf. And a woman older than myself made a comment as to how inappropriate it was for this to be being sold in a bookstore. And part of the conversation, I shared my understanding of the use of poppets in magic, to which she scoffed and still maintained her belief. And my partner also chimed in his disapproval as well. I didn't think much of it afterwards. I thought we were having a healthy discussion and everyone's entitled to their opinion. But upon leaving the bookstore and making our way back to the car, I realized that he was not happy, and micromanaging his moods had become my new normal, sadly. In the car on the way home, he began to berate me and made me feel like a little silly girl for even wanting to believe in such a thing as witchcraft. He provided me an opportunity as we approached the bridge not far from our home to stop the car and prove my witchcraft to him as he threw his hands off the steering wheel and his foot down. And it was this moment that I felt defeated and frustrated, and there was a slight rage starting to brew, festering under there at the sheer frustration that I could not get my message across. Why do people believe that witchcraft is evil? So, needless to say, that relationship did not last, but it was the one that defined my split apart lifestyle for some time. I spent a painful 15 years trying to balance my life as a witch in the closet and me as who I presented myself to the outside world. And it took the fact that my husband and I no longer, like we had not separated for some time, that I realized, I need to find a healthy balance for my authenticity, for me as both the person that shows her face publicly and the witch that has been the overshadowing archetype of my life. And that took me to where I am now. It was through slowly, piece by piece, sharing with my husband my understandings, my beliefs, and being okay with the fact that he at times did not understand it. And that was okay because he still loved me. In 2018, I took the initiate program, and it was the pieces of the puzzle for my craft to finally feel normal. It was the understanding of the universal laws that allowed me to own my power completely, 100%. And it was this coming home of myself that allowed me to step out of the broom closet a little easier. And that is what the new paradigm of the witch is to me. She is a woman that is unafraid to step into her sovereign power, no matter the cost. She is ready, willing, and able to meet all aspects and to stand in front of persecution and be okay with that. For there is still the misconception of witches, and this is my responsibility to enlighten as many people as I can. It was in devotion not long ago that the acronym of witch came to me, and it may have seemed like a beautiful mind kind of moment of me trying to wrap my head around it and explain it to people when it first came together. But I have gotten a lot better with it, and I share it with you now. So when we break down each letter of the word witch, we are weaving intentions through clear or conscious hearts. And it is this aspect of being a witch that is the truth of it all. It is whenever we are weaving or casting, we have to have clear intentions. We have to be conscious of what it is that we are intending to bring into the world. And it all comes through from our heart. And this is where that understanding of the universal laws brought me to that deep relaxation and a coming of home, like just feeling safe in the world once more. I joked about calling myself a lazy witch, but in reality it was, I understood that I did not need the crystals, the herbs, the phases of the moon in order to cast my intentions. I just had to get clear with it and come from my heart space so that it could flow out from me. And that is why I am leading the new paradigm of the witch. It is my soul's calling. No matter how many times I have tried to deny her, she is there patiently waiting for me to step in to this. And as the aunts in practical magic remind us, there is a little witch in all of us.